Don't you find it weird enough already that Sans actually came up with a specific process for someone to go through just in case he suspected them of being a time traveler? Yeah, he is the only, or at least one of the very few characters who are fully aware of time travel, because once you use it in front of him, he does ask you to go through a process he thought up to validate your not-so-normal ability. The explanation? Well, remember when I mentioned that he came from a scientific background? This can be explained by the quantum physics book and a lot of the sciencey dialogue in the battle against him that talks about the time-space continuum. But if you think that's incriminating evidence, Mr. Wright, just take a look at this. If you go through the aforementioned procedure and get the key to Sans's room, besides getting pranked, you get the key to Sans's warehouse. Welcome to the Room of Fan Theories. In there, you'll find a picture of Sans with a bunch of people you don't recognize. Actually, if you've completed Undertale before and come in here in a different timeline, then you'll find another picture with Frisk, Sans, and all of your friends. Does this guy just transcend time? Actually, it's possible. The only other things you find there are blueprints for a machine and a broken down machine in the corner. I know what you're thinking, time travel machine, right? Well, after all I've said, I find it very hard to believe that it's anything but that. I do like to think that this is actually the reason for his main character trait, his laziness. After all, doesn't it seem incredibly logical that the reason he's bored all the time is because he knows everything that can happen in any possible future? Maybe he hasn't experienced everything, but he has seen everything, and well, what's left? He's just going to be going through the same notions until some miraculous true pacifist run appears, and him going through all this while seemingly able to hide his emotions. He's so calm he lets nothing under his skin. Skin. After all we know about Sans now, I don't know if I would see him for as blank of a character as anyone might think. Time traveling's already a huge deal, but I feel like he does quite a few different various things that really makes it feel like Toby Fox wanted this character to stick out so much. Because my god, the time traveling is just the tip of the iceberg. He does so many things in the game that a normal character like him should very well not be able to do. He literally teleports around the underground. I'm making this pun because it is so much more fitting to his character than you realize. Sans is always skulking around. Give me the booze, I don't care, I feed off of puns. He's fully aware of actions you've made and has the authority to officially judge you. There's even a specific ending in Undertale that no player should be able to get, but if you've managed to view the ending via hacking, Sans calls you out for it and belittles you for the dirty hacker that you are. Now, look, I could try to give a logical reason for all this, a reasonable answer to seemingly insane problems, right? Well, the thing about that, wouldn't we just be right where we started? As in, I started this video by talking about parts of games that are never explained. And Sans is the embodiment of that thought. So many unanswered questions for him, but we can leave it at that. Besides, I don't know if Undertale is the best game for people to be throwing around theories. After all, just like Earthbound, a lot of the humor in the game is supposed to be unexplained and just plain ridiculous because there is no explanation. Well, to some questions, but I think it's time to jump back into the fray. If you have killed every creature in the underground that you've met before making it to Sans, he will make sure that you get your retribution. This fight is the least bombastic out of the 3 final bosses. I feel like the true final boss ties the story together really well, and Flowey is just so satisfying to beat. But what's amazing about this fight is that it does neither. It doesn't feel satisfying at all to kill Sans. By the end, you've killed everyone you may have loved in another timeline, and you wouldn't have to do the same for Sans if you didn't do that to everybody else. That's the thing. The genocide run isn't meant to be fun. It's meant to feel like a grueling task, both in terms of time value and emotional value. You've gone so far that you're out of control. Literally, you can't control your murderous intent. And so Sans has to stop you. Even if he doesn't stand a chance, he knows that he is his friends' determination and he will avenge everyone he loves. Wait, what? Why does that sound so familiar? A very heroic antagonist, someone who's fighting for a greater good than you. Oh. Yeah, Sans does bear an incredible resemblance to Undyne's heroic role, but it's done better here. And it's because of this. What if I told you that Megalovania isn't Sans's battle theme? I know this sounds crazy, but hear me out. What if Sans's battle theme was actually another piece of music not in the game's files, but in the Undertale soundtrack? I'd like you guys to listen to Song That Might Play When You Fight Sans. Yeah, I know. It's a lot more upbeat, a more intense Mega Man 3 remix of Sans' normal theme. Yet, even the title seems to be lying, huh? I mean, we never hear this song in-game. So, what do you mean? The one time they were able to fight Sans, you hear Megalovania instead? What's up with that? I don't know if you'll agree with me right away, but the more I talk about this, the more believable it might sound. I would like to say that Song That Might Play When You Fight Sans is the song that's meant to be played if you fought Sans in a pacifist playthrough, if we were to consider that being his theme. But that's not what the fight's about. Instead of the fight being about him and his theme, it's about stopping you at all costs. That's why the song that plays isn't Sans' song, but Megalovania. The song for someone unstoppably obsessed with raising their level of violence. Megalovania is your theme. A song that makes you feel awesome while you kill people you could have befriended. A song that empowers you to break through their souls with violence. There may have been a timeline where you could have a pacifist fight with Sans and hear this theme, but we don't have a way of accessing it. So that leaves the question, why does Megalovania play? Why is your theme playing instead of Sans's? Well, think about how the battle begins. Sans is clearly in more control of the fight than you are. He starts the fight, but he also gets the first attack. I think that Sans has a little more of the heroic antagonist trope than we thought. Yeah, I think the battle is actually played out from Sans' point of view, in which case the song that's playing would be the one of the opponents, aka Megalovania. You're not fighting Sans is fighting you. Russia jokes. And besides, how fitting is that? Since you're supposed to be the one seeing the genocide run from the Marauder's point of view, and look who's dealing the damage in this fight. The tables, my friends, seem to have turned. But enough about that, let's talk about the fight itself. Here's the thing, Sans doesn't play by the rules in this fight. Yes, he can only deal 1 damage to you when you get hurt, but to make up for that, you don't have invincibility frames. I mean, if you have the health of everyone you've killed and you're fighting against someone like Sans, surely he would have to make it tougher. Oh yeah, and about that flashing eye. You can see it when he starts to use his psychic powers that he busts out only now. He can use his telekinesis to bash you all over the place. The reason? Well, long backstory short, determination isn't just a meme, it's also an incredible power. The will to keep living, as they call it. Undyne is known to naturally have determination, but what if Sans has it too? The sheer love for his dead brother, high amounts of determination, it could allow him some powerful abilities like telekinesis. I mean, Sans has got guts, and he shouldn't, since he's a skeleton. But no, there's more. Later on, he literally turns out the light momentarily before attacking you. When the battle really gets heated, he starts attacking you in the menus, yeah, even when it's not his turn to attack. He's literally pulling out all the stops so Frisk doesn't make it past him. Well, more specifically for this fight, he's fighting with all he's got to make sure you don't get past him. You see, Frisk isn't really Sans' enemy. It's you, the player, that's his enemy. You don't have any sort of end goal. Sans knows that you're not some grandiose evil and you're playing the genocide run for some malicious reason. No, you're doing it just because you can. And because you can, you have to. He's mocking you. He's calling you a kid. Belittling your actions because he thinks you're a fool. He knows that the person in-game standing in front of him, Frisk, isn't his real enemy. Not by killing the character, he has to beat you. And I think you'd agree if I said that Sans is fighting fire with fire. A force outside of the game like you, he'll use attacks that he wouldn't be able to conventionally use as well. It's an amazing train of thought I wanted to bring up. But with all the knowledge that we now have, I think we can finally piece together a reason. The true reason behind this battle. As is stated quite a few times, you have a specific power. A power that can be used much more easily for bad than good. You can create timelines, jump between timelines, and most importantly, destroy timelines. And chances are, you've gone through lots of them as well. But the utopian belief is the true pacifist run, the timeline that exists where you're able to make friends with all of the monsters in the underground. The antagonistic force can be put away, and all monsters can finally escape the underground to peacefully coexist on the surface. Sounds like a beautiful future, doesn't it? And it's a future that Sans is fully aware of, and he knows that it's possible. Not only that, but you can save and load your game a few times here and there, as long as you ultimately work towards this utopian future. But there is the chance that you might make the choice to do the one thing that won't ever let anybody get their true happy ending. That's right, a genocide run. Of course, murdering everyone is bad enough, herp-a-derp, but from the game's standpoint, once you finish committing genocide and the world is destroyed, no matter what you do, even if you do a pacifist run again, no one can get their true happy ending. By completing the genocide run, the world is destroyed, and the only way to be able to experience Undertale again is by having the world again in exchange for your soul. Then let's say you want to make up for your past sins by doing a pacifist run. Tough luck. Once you finish a genocide run in any timeline ever, any future attempt to do a pacifist run will be screwed up. You have just broken the barrier, and everyone in the underground can escape, including letting the true evil out of the underground to murder everyone on the surface. What am I trying to get out of all this? Sans knows that a perfect future awaits you. He also knows that completing the genocide run will make this perfect future impossible. And after him wandering around timelines for who knows how long, the only thing that will finally give this guy peace is by giving him the true pacifist run. Sans' main motive for fighting you isn't because of the mass murder you committed. Otherwise, he would have killed you as soon as you killed Papyrus. Because of how much of a bad time Sans gives you while fighting him, he hopes that he can do anything to not let you pass to complete the genocide run. He's very specifically trying to make you start a brand new timeline. He's trying to steer you away from permanently screwing up your save file. Fighting him will just complete the genocide run. Sparing him won't do any good as the spirit of the true evil is already inside of you. The only way to truly win is to reset. This is what makes this battle so amazing. On the surface level, it's a fight between a kid and a skeleton. If we think deeper about it though, it's a fight between two seemingly monochromatic characters who will determine the fate of humans and monsters. But at the root of it all, it's a fight of conflicting morals and clashing ideals, fighting for their true futures, after having gone through so much for it to come to this. Oh yeah, speaking of them having gone through so much, you might be asking why I haven't mentioned Dr. Gaster. Possibly a scientist who worked with Sans and is affiliated with Dr. Alphys must be important, right? Well, maybe. Maybe this Dr. Gaster fellow is the root of Sans' backstory. But I don't really want to talk about him. Nearly every fact about Dr. Gaster is either discovered through hacking or is plain conjecture. Yes, there are a few hints about him in-game proving his existence, but I don't know about that sort of theorizing. I'm more a fan of just appreciating. When there's someone that just exudes an aura that catches your interest, you know you're in for a nice experience. When there's a person that brings you through so many unexpected yet enjoyable situations, you feel intrigued. When you get to lay back and just spend time with that person, you feel happy. And when you get to talk about the different experiences that make you realize you have more in common than you thought, you really grow to like and appreciate them. And yes, I'm talking about two people right now. Even though it's certain someone decided to put this video out incredibly late, I did still want to show my appreciation for your constant friendship. Maybe I can't give you a scale of how much I appreciate it, but I love being friends with you at least as much as I love being friends with Sans. And that's a huge freaking statement to make! At the very least, my present is some food for thought. Wow, that sounds lame. And to all of you watching, thank you so much. I feel like the way Undertale executes nearly everything perfectly makes it incredibly viable for being someone's game of 2015. There's so many mysteries about the game, and letting my opinion about one of the biggest ones out there feels great. So, in that case, what about you guys? What do you have to think about what I said about the legendary pile of lazybones himself? Lots of us will have differing opinions, but as long as we all have a good time in the end, all will be alright. I'm the Sky Spire, and dance with me!